Welcome to Please Me, the award-winning bilingual podcast bringing you bold conversations and big clit energy. Sí, Please Me se puede ver con subtítulos en español. I'm Eve, your host, on a journey from trauma to sexual liberation. Join me and my guests as we dive into conversations around orgasm equality, self-love, body positivity, and essential sexual education. Let's reclaim pleasure and close the orgasm gap, one empowering conversation at a time. Last week, I spoke with Robert Johnson about his 14-panel STI test that includes throat swabs for gonorrhea, which is something not tested for in general STI exams. With up to 30% of gonorrhea cases found in the throat, it's crucial to know what to ask for at a doctor's office to get the full picture of your sexual health. This is definitely one worth revisiting. I'm beyond thrilled and deeply honored to be nominated for 2 ASN awards. The categories are Best Educator and Best Educator Website, so be sure to check out my website for powerful educational resources, my go-to wellness products, and a beautifully curated sex toy shop designed with your pleasure and health in mind. You can vote daily, so check the show notes to cast your vote and help me bring these wins home. I'm truly grateful. Thank you for your continued support. Did you know that podcasts rely on listener support to keep bringing you the content you love? For the best way to support the show, join me on Patreon for ad-free listening, early releases, bonus episodes, and exclusive content. Please Me is for mature audiences. Sit back, relax, and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me.
We have this analogy that just runs through all of our porn nerd / porn education and literacy work. And it's like, you wouldn't look to Fast and the Furious to learn how to drive. So why would you look to porn to learn how to have sex?
ASN Lifestyle Magazine is your go-to source for sex-positive, sophisticated content covering everything from the swinger lifestyle and adult entertainment to intimacy, wellness, and more. You can read every digital issue for free, and subscribers get access to exclusive content. See the show notes for the link to subscribe and check out their Instagram. I'm excited to share that I now have a monthly column in ASN called Big Clit Energy, a Please Me series. Don't miss it and subscribe today. Hello and welcome to Please Me, the podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex and sexual health by turning the sheets into our classroom. Today, I'm so excited. I've been thinking about this interview for a while. So welcome Kels and Tess to the show. They are the creators of a podcast miniseries called Porn Nerds, and they have a sexual communication audio course called Squirm, or is it called Oral Hygiene? I'm going to have to ask you about oral hygiene. Okay. And then there's another platform called Squirm. So first of all, welcome to Please Me. And I would love for you guys to start with what your background is, what brought you to the subject matter, and then tell me about those 2 different platforms because they're different. And I want to make sure that everyone understands what those are.
Yeah. Do you want to start?
Sure. So first of all, thank you so much for having us. As we said, like pre-interview, we're just so excited to be here and get to chat with you. So this is Kels speaking for the listeners. And so Squirm, to clarify, is like the umbrella organization that all of our different projects are housed under. So we have events where people can meet new people and destigmatize the topics of sex. We have the audio course called Oral Hygiene, which is like Comms 101, and then our podcast mini series. But Squirm is our bigger, broader baby that kind of houses all of that. And my background is really in theater and production. I was directing and producing for really all my 20s and just love like making cool, entertaining stuff with people. And Tess and I came together 4 years ago now and decided to kind of do it with this topic of sexuality that's really important to both of us. I think on a personal level, my interest in the topic really evolved just one, because I'm a sexual person, A, and then B, my mom transitioned into the adult industry when I was like 12 or 13. And so I think really through my adolescence and early 20s, I was grappling maybe more than the average person with just the stigma surrounding sexuality and my own defensiveness when that topic came up. And so I just think it's really under talked about and really important for us all to get, I don't know, more comfy with just the squirminess that comes with being a sexual person and wanting to talk about desires.
Love that. And how about you, Tess?
Yeah, I'm Tess. So yeah, like Kel said, Squirm is the umbrella org, and really we created it as like the resource that we needed and wanted, but couldn't really find. And what led me to that was I worked a lot in nonprofits. So I worked a lot with girls and women and like formal and informal education and empowerment workshops for girls and women. And sexuality was just like not really talked about. And I kept thinking, like, there needs to be more available in these structures for everybody. But I had particularly been in like girls and women. So it just got me thinking, and also like on a personal level, just knew that there was more to experience around sex and relationships. So after leaving nonprofit world, I went to grad school in Amsterdam to study sexuality and gender, but also specifically to study porn, because in these years I had also become really fascinated with porn as this way of learning about sex when there weren't a lot of other channels outside of maybe an inadequate school-based sex ed program or maybe parent conversations. But porn just like really started to come to the surface for me as an interesting topic. And in that grad program, I just did a lot of research into how adults were continuing to learn about sex way beyond any sort of school-based program. What happens when you're your 20s and you're trying to date and you're having casual sex, or you're in a long-term relationship and you're still like floundering, knowing there's more to be had and knowing that there's like a lot to get out of a sexual relationship, but not really being sure how to get there. So I came back from school immersed in this world of porn, but also knowing that was just one piece of the sort of general cultural landscape around sexuality, and that there's so much more to be said and role modeled for people. So COVID happened. Kels and I decided to create a pandemic project and take my research from grad school and her theater production background and create something that was educational and relevant to people's lives, and also entertaining and like storytelling, and something that would be fun to engage with, not just another like sex ed resource.
I love your story because I feel like you guys came to podcasting in an unusual way. In a way, because you pitched the idea and you started it off on a very professional level. A lot of podcasters just are like, oh, I want to start a podcast. And they just put their camera on, which is what I did. And like slowly but surely learned the ropes and learned this industry. But you guys just started off like this with this mini series, and it is very well done. I listened to the whole entire thing. I can't say that I've done that with any other podcast.
We're honored.
That's so sweet.
So I listened to all of it. I loved it. I love the topic of porn. It comes up all the time in this show. And it's interesting that you were really super fascinated and focused in your studies on porn. And you're absolutely right. So many people look at porn as their like sex, excuse me, as their like sex education, right? And why is that a bad idea? Let's talk about that first.
Sure. Yeah. We have this analogy that just runs through all of our porn nerd / porn education and literacy work. And it's like, you wouldn't look to Fast and the Furious to learn how to drive. So why would you look to porn to learn how to have sex? And it's like, there's nothing categorically wrong with fun action movies. There's nothing categorically wrong with porn and like the entertainment and the fantasy that brings. But just Marvel or Fast and the Furious, there's so much that's just created for that immersive fantasy experience that's not actually the depiction of what being a human in a human relationship is like, or walking around or driving around the world. And so it's fun to look at it for these entertainment purposes. And sure, there are things you can glean along the way, but I think it's harmful when people have a challenging time delineating between that fantasy and the sort of instructional, or is this what I should be doing? And then taking that, this is what sex should look like, and trying to take it into their own personal life. And that's why we don't want to look to porn for sex ed, because it's not giving you even close to a full picture of what being a sexual person is like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's so many different types of porn now. And I know that there's female created porn, of which I never watch because I think you have to pay for that. Everything that I look at, I'm not gonna lie, like I watch free porn, okay? And most of the stuff that I watch is very male oriented, male driven. Like it's always, they start off with the blowjob, and then after the blowjob, then they get into the penetration, but there's hardly ever any like oral sex on the woman and female pleasure and all of that. So that's why I think for me, watching porn as sex ed is not like the whole picture. It's not really what sex is about. It can be entertaining. It can turn you on, which is the point of watching it. But it's not necessarily the script that you need to follow when you are in your own sexual relationship or having sex on your own.
Yeah. I think it gets tricky because it's, I think, inevitable that you're going to watch some porn and feel inspired. To your point of the kind of male gaze version of porn that we talk about is like the squint style of porn. It's like just what a lot of people, the image that's conjured in your mind when someone says porn is that like male centric tube site style. You might be watching that and you see the blowjob and she like spits on his dick and you're like, that's hot. I want to try that. Okay. But like I think it's important to not take it as a beat by beat. This is the play by play of how I'm going to have a sexual experience. But it is also really helpful to see other people having sex because you don't see that often, depending on what circles you run in, to get ideas of new techniques. I think where it becomes dangerous is if like the safety filter isn't there, right? There's this episode of Euphoria where one of the guys like goes in to choke Sydney Sweeney and slap her around and she's, what the fuck is that? Like, why are you being so mean to me? And so I think it's like you can see porn like that and say, oh, this is really hot. I want to try to play with power dynamics. I want to try to play with choking or slapping or whatever it is. But often what's cut out of the final product is the communication and like checking in with your partner to see if they are into it and feel good. So I think that's the link that we often try to promote for people, is talking about those things that you want to implement from porn.
Absolutely. It can certainly give you an idea of like things that you want to try. And I love that you bring up the spitting on the dick because I personally don't like to exchange fluids. Especially if it's like a new partner, that is just like a no for me. And so like I will preface the conversation before having sex with, I don't exchange fluids, don't spit on me, and I have lube, but so knowing what those boundaries are for you is so essential. But yeah, absolutely. It can be a place to get ideas. Not every woman likes to be pounded. Sometimes we like something different. So asking your partner is key. And I love that you brought that up. And this question just came to me and it's not something that I have in front of me right now, but I am very curious and I'm wondering if you guys will be open to answering this. Yeah. When you watch porn, what is the top thing that you search for?
What is that? Answer for me.
You guys know each other's answers.
She says she knows mine. I'll think about it.
I think it's like erotic massage.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, like happy ending massage.
I love massage porn.
I've never watched massage porn. I can't
do
remember
yourself
who
a
said that.
favor. Do yourself a favor. It's so hot.
Yeah, what's
Interesting.
I feel like if there was a category for being fucked in an art museum, that would be Chess's porn category. But I don't know what
I think there probably is. It's like a subcategory of public sex.
Yeah.
Yeah, public sex.
Is public sex yours?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Public
also
sex,
like
having sex in a public setting, like a play party or like at a park.
So like less play parties and more just being out in public in some way, and not in a way that's going to scandalize people walking by, but in a dark park or like under a bridge. That sounds creepy, but there are some hot ones. I remember early on in finding porn that I really liked, I saw this scene in an outdoor sculpture garden. I think they were in Spain. And it was just like so hot. They were like walking through this beautiful sculpture garden. And then he like put a blindfold on her and she like leaned up against one of the sculptures. And it was just, I think just like being out in that setting is really exciting.
I love that because it's like an artistic space. So it's like beautiful and you're feeling beautiful things. So I love that. And I'm just curious, since you like that kind of porn. Do you consider yourself an exhibitionist?
Mildly, yes. And yeah, totally. Like, I think like having sex against an open or like a big window is really fun. Or there've been like clubs or bar experiences where there were places where people, like dark rooms or dark areas where people were hooking up. And I think doing something like that where it's my identity is like concealed enough that I feel safe and protected, but there's like an element of exhibition, an element of like risk, but I like toe the line. It's definitely not, I'm not 100% over that line.
Like the
Gotcha.
projection
Okay.
screen.
Yeah, like the
dabbling, a
projection.
little dabbling. Well, I'll share mine since you
Exactly.
guys shared yours.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I like to search for, and actually I like to search for two things. One is oral sex on a woman,
Hot.
usually with a woman, is like when I'm into watching that, I usually search for it by a woman. And then the other thing that I search for, I think probably more than that, is threesomes, and with two men, not with two women, with two men and a woman. So that's what I like to watch. And that's what turns me on when I'm like solo playing. And so the next question I'm going to ask you does have to do with this. It was a little tangent here, but I just got really curious. And thank you for sharing and being open.
Yeah,
So
we're
if I
all
think
turned
about
on.
I love watching, I search for a lot of lesbian porn also, even though I don't have sex with women very often at all. But I find it to be just like so sexy and like sometimes slower and sometimes just connected in a different way.
Yeah, and same actually. Like I watch a lot more girl. Much to my dismay, I'm like pretty straight. Like I wish I was more gay. I'm like a little gay, but I'm pretty straight. And I think but I tend to watch a lot more girl on girl or like threesome porn. Yeah.
I will say that because what you watch is not necessarily what you would do in real life, right? And it is entertaining. And how can porn actually enhance a relationship? Because I know that for a lot of people, they feel like porn can be like quote unquote cheating, or they are upset that their partner watches too much porn. First of all, how much porn is too much porn? Like how would you draw the line?
It's a good question.
I don't think there's a formula. I don't think there's, and we had a sex therapist on the show that said this. So I'm basically just lifting what he said. He's people that watch porn every day, and he wouldn't bat an eye, like no problem. There's not, Pat Blewett is the therapist. He's fantastic. He's saying there's not a clinical answer to that question where it's too much. I think the line of questioning that I would introduce to the equation, and us, because we've collected this thought together, is like, how is it impacting my sense of self? How is it impacting my relationships? Like, how do I feel about how much porn I'm watching? And kind of part B of that question of how do I feel about the porn that I'm watching is, if I'm feeling bad about it, is that from just like societal stigma surrounding sexuality because we're all swimming in these sex negative waters? Or is it that it's like having actual like negative impacts on my life? And so I think too much porn is a very subjective thing. But yeah, I guess if it's right.
Yeah, I think it's a question a lot of people ask and a lot of people go to Google for. And unfortunately, if you type that into Google, you're going to get pretty like fear mongering results around sometimes any porn is too much porn or daily porn is too much porn, whatever it is. And it's a lot easier to want just the straight answer to that question. And it's a lot harder to have to actually sit and think about your life and your habits and how it is impacting you and all of the things from your past that maybe are impacting your own feelings around porn. Like a lot of people grow up with religious backgrounds and families, and they come to the topic of porn with a much different, deeper shame perhaps than some other people. And so you have to take that into the equation. But it's definitely not this like simple, if you're watching this, it's too much. If you're watching this, it's fine. It's like a real personal journey to figure out how to integrate porn into your life in a way that works for you and your relationships.
I definitely agree. It's a very individual thing, but I think it can be really beneficial for relationships too. Yes, if it's impacting your life and you can't do anything but watch porn, you're at work and you should be focusing, but instead you're watching porn and you're just obsessed with it, that's a whole different story. If it's impacting your life in a negative way and you're perceiving it to be negative, then that's a negative thing. However, if it's enhancing your life and it's turning you on and it's allowing you to, but if also, I think on the other side of the spectrum too, if you can only get off if you're watching porn and then you're in a relationship and your partner doesn't want to always be watching porn or they don't know that about you or whatever, telling them about that is important if it's an important part of your life. But if you're in a relationship and you can only have sex with porn on, I think that would be a problem for me, at least. I don't know. But how can it enhance your relationship? Why don't we talk about the positives?
Sure.
Yeah.
What we were saying earlier, there's a lot of inspiration that you can get from porn. And kind of zooming out and thinking about what porn even is, a lot of us have the same sort of images that pop into our head when we talk about porn. And it's maybe is more male pleasure, male gaze focused, like fit, able-bodied people. Mainstream porn like has this certain sort of flavor, but there is a lot of porn out there that doesn't look like that. And so there's a lot of porn that you can find that maybe represents the style of sex that you like to have, and you can get some like really affirming inspiration from watching that, just in terms of validating your own sexuality. If you think you're weird or broken because you like this, or you can only get off with thinking about this, and then you realize, oh, actually, there are a lot of people out there that are like me. It is totally okay that I am into the things that I'm into, or that I get turned on by this and not by that. I think it's important to realize that there's just so much variety in the world of porn, and then that can just lead to a ton of inspiration and a ton of validation for people. And that's just kind of like solo sex. But then there's like amazing ways that I think you can bring that inspiration like into a partnership and feel that sort of like deep sense of validation when you do come to a partner and want to have sex with them. But I don't know, do you want to talk about like the ways that the partnership can flourish?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with all that. And I think, listen, I think everyone conducts their relationships differently, obviously. Like people like to maintain a different level of individuality and kind of mergedness with their significant others. Personally, I feel like my most healthy relationships are when I've retained like a real strong sense of my own identity and they've maintained a real strong sense of their own identity. And I think having a lifeline or like an anchor point to your own independent solo sexuality as well as your sexual life with them just makes for a hotter vibe. I don't know if that's quite the right word, but I think continuing to masturbate and continuing to have these little desires that you're exploring and just like nourishing that world within yourself, even while in a relationship, I think is really beautiful and exciting. And I think the metaphor would be like if you're traveling and you guys are walking every day together, you're doing the same exact itinerary every day together. You're just this like amorphous blob where you're getting the same input all the time. But then you spend an afternoon and go to lunch on your own, and they spend an afternoon and go to the museum. Then you have like things to talk about and collaborate and like share. And there's something really beautiful. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about a relationship is like being able to bring these unique perspectives to each other. So I think that's great. And it can be hard to watch together. I know it's low hanging fruit, but if you are able to watch porn with your partner and get off to it and have the tools to be able to talk about what you're seeing, to say, maybe I do want to try spitting on your dick, or maybe I do want to try like getting tossed around like that, or this is hot to me because of this, or this tickled something in me. I don't quite want that, but I want something like it. Let's figure out what that is. I think just being able to consume that together can also lead to some really satisfying and important conversations about desires.
We have a workshop that is called Voicing Your Desires. And part of it is we talk about ways you can bring up the subject of new desires or curiosities with a partner, because it can be scary to know, how do I bring this up? I have something I want to try. Do I just say it over dinner or like in the middle of having sex? And one of the things that we recommend is watching porn with a partner. Just outsource needing to describe certain things that you might like, right? Like you can each come with a video or two and watch together and talk about the thing, or even just point to the thing like that right there, that move is so hot, or that setting is so hot, or just like that connection that they have like really turns me on. And you don't have to necessarily find the words yourself. So I think, yeah, like Kel said, it can be a really good way to experience together things that each partner might want to try or integrate into their sex life without having to have all the words quite yet.
Absolutely. And I just recently had Kobe Fox on the show, and he is an Australian porn star. He's also gay. And he considers himself a quote unquote bear and a bottom. So those things don't typically go together, or you wouldn't consider like someone that's like big and masculine and whatever as like being a bottom, but that's what he likes. And so I think that what I love about it is that there really is a little bit of something for everybody, and you can find yourself, and representation in anything is important. And so finding representation in porn for yourself, if you do enough digging and searching, you can really find something that really is very specific to what you like and what turns you on, and makes you feel like you can be that person too. And I think that's important. And he brought up the idea that there's many people out there that are creating businesses for themselves that are not the typical porn star looking type person. And there's BBWs, and there's just all sorts of different options to watch out there. And so I think that's a beautiful thing. And also, you talked about having a relationship with yourself and then having a relationship with your partner. And I think that is so important. And I think that it's something that you should definitely talk about when you do enter into a relationship with somebody, because the relationship that you have with yourself is going to continue throughout your whole life, whether you're in a partnered relationship or not. And why would you throw that away just because you have a partner all of a sudden? Yes, they're going to fulfill your desires in a certain way, but you should also maintain a relationship with your own body, your own sensuality. And so I love that example that you gave.
Yeah.
And that brings me to, since there's two of you and I have way too many questions to ask you guys, we are going to do this in a 2-part series. And so we're going to do a role play. And so I'm excited about this role play. We decided that we are going to talk about me entering into a throuple, and Tess and Kels are going to be my girlfriends, and we're all out, I don't know, maybe at a like cocktail lounge, just hanging out and chatting. And they're going to be giving me some advice around how I can have a conversation about boundaries and my turn-ons in this throuple relationship that I'm entering into. Okay. And do you want to say anything else before we start the role play?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
That sounds
no,
great.
great.
Okay, perfect. All right. And action. So, guys, I have something that I want to talk to you about. I'm so excited because I met these two really amazing people, and we've been talking about entering into a throuple, the three of us. And I've never been in a throuple before, and I'm a little bit nervous, but I really want our intimate life to be like the best it can be. And I want to have a conversation with them about what turns me on and what doesn't turn me on. But I feel like really embarrassed about having this conversation with them. So I just want some advice from you guys. What would you say? What would you tell them? And I just need some girl talk.
That's really exciting. I think sometimes it can help to get clear on ways that you like to feel during sex before anything really specific around different types of touch or different actions, but kind of thinking about what dynamics or even just like adjectives can help identify how you like to feel. I know for me, I really liked when sex feels playful and connected, and I like to play with power dynamics. So that's something you can think about and kind of start by just articulating the ways that you like to feel when you're in an intimate encounter. And then maybe thinking about the pacing of it. Like I know for me, it's really hot when there's a sense of urgency in the desire, but I really don't like when things feel rushed. So that's also something that maybe I would communicate with the asterisk of if there's 15 minutes and you're racing the clock, there's an external time constraint that you're both working towards together, and that rush can be hot. But if someone's just rushing for no reason, like I don't really like that. And then maybe, yeah, just thinking about what sort of sex acts or positions you feel really comfortable in, you feel really hot in, and then some that just either make you feel insecure or don't really do it for you. And you can lay that out as stuff to explore. Boundaries If there's hard limits that you have or soft limits, I think for me, I have like soft limits around leaving marks. It like really depends on who it is and when it is and where the marks are. So it's like something to think about. But those are the top categories that come to mind for me. What about you?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes it can be really helpful to lead with what those boundaries are because in sex it feels like really fun for me at least to feel like spontaneous and being able to just sink in and make decisions and get a little weird. But I think especially with new partners and because you're navigating like two other whole brains and bodies that are probably having some sexual ideas in the moment, it like I think can just feel really alleviating and empowering if everyone knows like where the kind of lines in the sand is so that you can just like feel a little more daring and like spontaneous and know that you're not like upsetting the boundaries. So if you and also being able to communicate with them like those boundaries might change, right? If these are newer partners to you and you want to go slow and feel it out, like maybe you don't want to play with too much like power dynamics or impact play, but you might later. So I think that it can set a really nice precedent to say, for now, I don't want you to spit in my mouth, or I don't want you to speak to me in a degrading way, or whatever the specifics are. Like those for me are two that I like to do once I've established a bit more trust. But I also feel like it just can make people feel a lot more comfy if they know that kind of like you're going to be able to advocate for yourself as you continue to like develop this relationship with them. Like, also as an aside, like to that sense of comfort or just like feeling embodied and like being able to be present with a couple. So wait, did they know each other? Did they have a relationship and you're entering, or how do you know them? What's the situation?
So we all met around the same time and we all really just vibed. And so we decided that we were going to take it to the next level and start having some physical intimacy. But we've been on multiple dates and we really all vibe really well. We like each other. And I love that you brought up having some being like rushed, right? And I personally don't quickies. So I would definitely want to like bring that up and say, if we are developing this relationship, that's something that I'm not really ever into because I really like to explore sensually and really take my time. And I think that early on, it's going to be something that I really want to just go slowly with and just explore each other's bodies and just explore what really works for us as opposed to like jumping into lots of like penetrative sex. I want to take it away from that and just do more exploration, but I don't know how to verbalize that. And so that's what I need you guys to help me with.
Yeah.
That sounded great.
Isn't it great? And I think it's so hot. It's like one of my favorite things to do in any sexual encounter is like tonight, like this is like the like no penetrative sex. It's just gonna be hands. It's just gonna be mouths. I feel like that like one sets keeps you feeling comfy, but also it's just hot. Like I think it gamifies it in a way. So I feel like exactly how you said it, and just saying this is what's on the menu tonight. And I know in my opinion, like that makes like so much more creative set.
I love that you said that too, because I feel like I don't want to be like the Debbie Downer, right? That I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that. I feel like there's so much that we can explore with just hands and mouth, right? There's so much we can explore in that realm. And just getting to know each other and getting to know each other's bodies, I think is going to be a really exciting time. I'm glad that you said that that would be hot for you, that it would be nice to just focus on that only and just explore in that, because really that can just be like so much. There's so much we can do just with those things.
But I love how you said like framing it in this affirmative rather than that I don't want to do this. It's like I want to do this because so I want to just focus on hands and mouths because I want to take my time with you, or because I want to explore every inch of you, or kind of like turning it into this thing where you're being clear about what you're up for, but also reaffirming enthusiasm and making it a little hot. I think that's just such a great way to.
I'm definitely going to use that. I want to explore every inch of both of you.
Yeah.
So that is definitely something that I'm definitely going to use. And I appreciate you guys being so honest with me because I was really nervous about having this conversation.
Yeah, we're so excited.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear about how it goes.
Oh, yeah, me too. Dean. That was fun. Excellent. So that was really great. And I want to close this part of the conversation and just ask where my listeners can find you.
Yes.
Go, you do it.
Okay, I'll do it. Am I? GetSquirmy.com. You can find everything. We have links to the Porn Nerds podcast. You can also find that just on any podcast platform. But we'll also have links to our workshops, our card deck, which is called Get Squirmy. And it's 90 cards about sex and intimacy that you can play with friends and with lovers. So it's like very inclusive and open for different situations.
Did I spell it right?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Wow, nice job.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And we also have links to our events there. But we also have an Instagram, which is at Squirm. You'll see it. There's some underscores, but you'll find it. And yeah, those are the two main places, GetSquirmy.com and Instagram, or your podcast platform, I guess, is the third.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you guys for being here
Thank
today.
you.
And you
It's been
guys, if you're listening right now to this episode, make sure that if you know somebody that would really enjoy this conversation, you send it to them. It might be a really great place to start with opening up that conversation with your partner about what turns you on. So make sure you share. And you know where you can find me at pleaseme.online and reach out to me there if you want to work with me. I also have, I just mentioned toys. I have a great toy store on my website and all sorts of other resources. So until next time, thanks for being on the show, ladies.
Thank you. Bye.
For ad-free listening, exclusive bonus episodes, Eve's library of archived webinars, and early access to new releases of Please Me, become a monthly supporter on Patreon. Simply open the Patreon app on your phone, search for Please Me, and subscribe today for premium content and more. Cheers to finding your pleasure and big lit energy.